Alright, welcome to Uno Night, where I'll be discussing a couple characters and go through an in-depth breakdown of their skills, abilities, stats, all and their possible synergies so that you may be able to come up with your own teams and find the best use out of each character. Alright, we're not going to leave any characters behind, as much as I can, obviously. Alright, so Talia. Talia, I feel like, is one of those characters that people feel like they understand, but then they don't. They just slap it on their team and it just works out for them, so they don't really mind it. I mean, she is triple S in most tier lists in the first place, so can't really blame them for just slapping Talia on there. So sometimes people only mistake her as just a support, decent nuke, at least that's what they say, and well, good healer. Again, so basically jack of all trades, right? Now here's the thing: the craziest thing about Talia isn't that she provides heal over time for the entire team and mana regen, right? She's not just a battery. Her ult, her full screen ult, is arguably the best in the game once you get her artifact, right? And we'll get into that. Right, some people might think it's Jade or the others, but we'll just get into that of why that is highly unlikely. Alright, so first let's talk about her being a battery. So if I have a couple of characters here, right? So right off the bat, I'm already thinking some of these characters already have difficulty like stacking up their mana. Like say Jacqueline, Ayame. If you have these characters, you know that, or if you've been paying attention, it's a bit hard to actually charge up their mana gauge so that they could use their skills. That's where Talia comes in. All right. So, but then that's not the only thing that Talia does, right? So we're gonna talk about her ultimate. Now this is busted. Now there are a couple of other characters with full screen ults. Vivian used to be one of them before the nerf, but then apart from Vivian, pre-nerf, we've had Talia, Jade, and what was her name? Naya, right? We're gonna do character comparisons for all of them. We're not gonna say one's better than the other because all of these characters do completely different things. Alright? That's why you see some teams that whip out Clara for some reason. Alright? I'm not saying Clara's a bad unit. All these characters have their own niche that they fulfill. And that's what's crazy about this game. You can get any character and they'll do the job. Some people think Haru's useless. Well, Haru's a tank buster. Alright? We'll get into that. We'll get into those characters in their respective videos. Alright. Back to Talia. Ultimate Stars Arrival Day. Those words just came out of my mouth, man. Like, that's crazy. Right. So, with Talia's ult, right, okay, nothing crazy. 250% attack with the battery. Okay, she has it on their active, right? Like, what's the point? Yeah. You see, here's the thing. 280%. Well, right now I have her at 280% for a support DPS. That's pretty good. You could be like, oh, I'll just use Jade's ult, right? Well, here's the thing. Her sub, what do you call this? The sub skill part of it, the second effect, is a lot more useful in my opinion compared to someone like Jade. Now you could argue Jade would work better for a full human-like team. Yes, 100%. That's true for the resonance. But you see, the crazy thing about Talia is that you could completely, well, not completely, sub out Jade for her. But then, if you just have Jade for her ultimate, well, sorry to break it to you, Jade's full screen ult is nothing crazy when you compare it to Talia. Still good, don't get me wrong. Compared to Talia, not close. Right, 280%. Now, if you have her at, say, at least legendary, or if you're past probably like stage 9, I guess, you're past the early game, you probably have this artifact Tetra. Yeah, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought trying to pronounce this Tetra thing. So we'll just leave it at the Tetra artifact, right? Talia's artifact. So, point I'm trying to make is that Stars Rival Day adds an additional 50% at just one copy, right? You just need to get one copy of this thing to start dealing extra 50% damage. Now, is it enough to completely replace Naya as your main ult user? Probably not, because Naya has the sleep mechanic and it's just completely busted like heavy CC, right? Only a couple characters in this game have even remotely close to a resistance to it, such as say Adrienne with her artifact. Alright, let me just get into it. So whilst I'm looking for that, the point I'm trying to make is eventually, at some point, the more you play this game, the stronger your Talia will get along with their ultimate. Let's say you have a legendary 100% extra damage on top of your, let's say you have level 2 ultimate, the 280% plus 100%, 380% of Talia's attack. Now you could argue, oh, Jade's a dedicated DPS, her attack stat is higher than Talia. Yes, but we'll get into that after this. So here you see that at origin, you get immunity for status effects for Adrian, which I highly doubt like your enemies would have an origin artifact at this stage of the game, right? We don't really have that available, thank God, right? Bloody otherwise. Adrian's already like painful as it is, right? So apart from that, alright, so we get into their base stats. So the ones that we're going to compare Talia to are mainly, oh sorry, I forget, Mika also has a full screen ultimate, but we'll get into that as well. Mika's a fantastic unit early game. We'll explain why, right? Remember, every unit in this game is good, but that doesn't mean you can use them all the time. Right, so Jade, 270%, just 20% more at level 1. Game breaking? No, but then Jade is obviously a DPS, so she does that job pretty well. Problem is her attack is 62,591. Is that anything crazy? Probably not. Ayame has around 73,000. Yeah, 73,706. Well, Talia has 60,612, I believe. On the dot. Right. Perfect. So now we've established that a same level Jade and Talia would only have around 6% gap in terms of attack. So is it really worth it? You know, 535% at max level for both, assuming you have the maxed out artifacts, compared to Jade's 320% with 6% more attack. Worlds apart. So another one we compare it to is, say, Naya. Naya, especially at this stage of the game, would most likely be most people's main source of DPS. Completely valid. Why? Her skills are kind of busted. We have around 3 skills. 3 out of 5 of these skills are dedicated to sleep, which is heavy CC. We've discussed only a few characters in this game even have resistance, like perfect resistance to this heavy CC. Right. Beautiful thing about this is that level 3 sleep duration changes to 6 seconds. And now this one is a guaranteed one. There's no percentage compared to, say, this one, 50% chance when they're active. So you'd probably be shuffling ults between Naya and Talia, say if you have them both in the same team. If you need the burst damage and the heal, Talia will do that job. You need heavy CC, Naya's ult is there, and she's a DPS. Now in terms of damage, she only has roughly 1,000 attack more out of 60. Around 1.6% more attack than Talia. So, like we said, Talia is just a nuke in her own league. Literally no one comes close when it comes to full screen ults. The only one that comes close, especially at this stage of the game, would be Mika and Siha. Why? Because, okay, let's say Mika, Siha, right? So the good thing about this unit, fantastic for early game, because, well, for one, you pretty much get Mika and Siha for free, especially if you had the pre-registration like rewards. The crazy thing is, the problem with her is that she needs to have Siha on the team pretty much. She's very good with Siha, but without Siha, absolutely rubbish of unit, right? So welcome to Mika's concert. Why did I say that? So, 390% plus a stun 3 seconds. What is this? Like Jade. So it's like literally early game. Like just use Mika and Siha. Although I'm not saying Jade's useless. Like her active, pretty strong. Her subs are very good as well. We'll get into those. But as an ultimate spammer, right? Who are you gonna use your ultimate on? Probably Mika with Siha, Naya, or Talia. Those are usually going to be your main runners for a lot of these stages, right? So now that we established that, oh, another thing, Mika's attack is very low in general. You see that she's meant to be a DPS, but she has 10,000 less attack, roughly like 17%. Yes, 17% less attack than Talia at max level. It's not a very good look as a DPS unit. Just goes to show how broken Talia is in general. Now, we'll go through each of Talia's skills very quickly and explain what I was talking about earlier in the video, where I was talking about how people don't really understand Talia's skills and how they affect each other and your team. Right, so apart from being a fairy unit, which already has some of the best units in the game, so we have Chloe, one of the best tanks. Well, to be fair, there are only around 4 tanks if I'm not mistaken. Chloe, Suni, Claire, Petra, Adrian. Oh, sorry, 5. 5. Yeah, 5. So we have those. But then Chloe, Claire, and Adrian arguably the best. Petra's good, alright? Petra's good. But I'm just saying, at this stage, you'll be mostly using those 3 tanks. Right, so we have Chloe, fantastic tank. We've already established that. Miriam, pretty good. Nicole, good for defense shred. Naya, we've already talked about, and we'll go in depth in a different video. And Vivian, fantastic unit as a sub DPS. Wow, that speed is really good. That speed buff, fantastic. That haste. Right, so anyways, we've already established how good Fairy is. Now let's talk about the skills synergies. Right, so this active is, just think of it as her ultimate, but without the nuke and more HP over time and mana over time. It's not a big difference, but it could count in the long run. Right, this is like an investment. You get paid back dividends every few seconds or so. So we'll take that. Now next, her sub. Damn, none of these words are gonna come out of my mouth, man. These are not in the Bible. Jesus. Right, so her first sub skill basically buffs the ally farthest away from Talia. Now, is this a weird thing? Honestly, I think it's a very good skill for the reason that, given that she's a supporter, all of her skills actually provide utility for all types of units: tanks, sub, DPS, and DPS, as well as the healer, because it helps the healer like heal, right? So this one specifically helps out units such as assassins and tanks. Okay, so let's say you have Jacqueline trying to assassinate the backline because you see an enemy rose and you're trying to clap those cheeks, right? You need Jacqueline, Lindsay for that. This buff will make sure that your assassins will not die as easily, because in some rare cases where your Jacqueline is not enough to completely burst down that backline, Talia's there to give Jacqueline just those extra few seconds to be able to kill those units. Assassin, at the end of the day, a bit squishy. Jacqueline, more damage arguably. I'll still do the final check. From what I've seen, experienced firsthand, Jacqueline does more damage than Lindsay and starts assassinating earlier on. I'm talking like start of the game. Problem is, not as much survivability because Lindsay has this evasion mechanic, which we'll get into. So that's how she helps the assassins. That means she also pairs well with Undead, because Rebecca also buffs the enemy furthest away, and Prim as your say main healer, because whilst Talia is a fantastic unit in, well, pretty much every aspect, healer, like except tank, everything except tank she can do. Problem is, she can't be your main healer. You need another one. You need a dedicated healer to keep your team alive. That's where Prim comes in. Boom. Prim, Jacqueline, Talia. You could also have Rebecca there to buff Jacqueline, but probably only problem with that team is that you probably won't have enough DPS and you'll die. It's just a fun thing to work with. Synergies, right? Apart from that, tanks. Now, Talia, especially paired with tanks such as, say, Claire. So the thing with Claire is she always gets in the center, right? Claire wants all the smoke. Right, Claire wants all the smoke. Get in those enemies, like in the middle of the enemy. Try to absorb everything for whatever reason. Thing with Talia, she will shield Claire so she survives a lot longer, right? Then, apart from that, apart from helping the tanks, there's another fantastic skill. This blinding thing, right? So if you're not familiar, a lot of these characters have accuracy of around 5 to 10. Adrian's 10. I think Talia's 5. Yeah, so it's subtracting by 20. Yeah, if you know what that means, it's pretty good. It doesn't mean you'll dodge everything from what I've seen, but then you pair it with a healer, say Catherine. Your sustain, your health sustain would be very, very good. You'll be able to tank a lot of damage with this Greet the Stars, and then you'll be able to blind, so you debuff them, and at the same time you are able to losing my train of thought, man. So anyways, forget that. I forgot to mention that her active also does removes debuff from everyone in your team. So again, another fantastic thing. Drop accuracy by 20. Oh, another thing, 5-meter long, 90-degree conical area. That's actually really big. So what you want to do is that if you don't notice this, right, you probably don't. That's fine, or you do. Just watch Talia closely. You'll see just how big this attack actually is and how good it is, right? Just keeping your team alive. Now this last one is what most people just know her for. This attack and defense buff to everyone. What I'm not sure of is if it also buffs herself, because like now you have a dilemma. Are you your own ally? That's some philosopher thing, right? We're not gonna get into that. Right. This is pretty much a breakdown of Talia and her artifact for the most part. Keepsakes we're not going to do because we do not have her legendary sets available. Which, if you're not familiar, there are keepsake sets around legendary and up. I'll just show you very quickly. There. So you see that defense set. We do not have that available yet for Talia. And just, I mean, personally, I would not like level up any keepsakes unless it's for request. Until then, that's a rip. I need more human fodder, man. You see the Jiho banner coming out in like a few days, bro. I'm gonna wail on that. I'll be so real, man. Right, so that's pretty much it. So just a brief rundown of the character. Fantastic ultimate, maxed out 535%. Does that mean she's only good when you have her max? No. Literally just at this stage of the game. Yes, I could make her eternal right now. I actually have the resources, but I didn't want anyone to be mad with, oh, you have to will. Like, nah, you don't have to. Most people, I mean, I reckon, have her legendary because for the most part, you probably paid for her dollar pack, or if you're like me, you're just looking for confirmation bias because, well, I bought her Talia pack, right? So we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Right. Before anyone complains that I don't actually provide the gameplay and explaining what's happening from Talia's perspective, we'll go for it. You already know we play with the CP deficits, man. We have like 845 CP deficit. We'll take that. Heavily gapped. Alright. Is this my main team? Not really. But I use it a lot. Obviously, I have lots of... Well, I have most units. Right, so I love playing a lot. But then Catherine's always on my team. Alright, so we already have the shield show up on Claire because Claire's always in the enemy's cheeks, right? Well, for the most part. Alright, so this begs the question. Should you always use Talia's ult? No. There's some cases... I mean, that's why you have DPS units, right? So in this case, we have Mephi as sub-DPS. I don't really have a dedicated DPS. But the point is, if they're all clumped together, then of course I'll use Mephi's ultimate instead of Talia. Especially if my team's this healthy, I would use Mephi's ultimate just to like get it over with, man. Yeah, it looked like Claire just did some crazy dash. Right. So now we just get into the contributions. I already know Talia's on top. That's awkward. You get the point for for a DPS. I mean, sorry, for a support. 336k. Oh, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. All right, so just a final like recap on how good Talia actually is. All right, so when we compare her damage, damn, it's loud. When we compare her damage even to some of the highest hitting units in the game, so Haru, from what I've seen, has the highest burst ult. Right, but then there's a condition for Haru. It only works if the unit is well separated. So let's say Haru works really well against fighting enemy Claires, because Claire will always go to the center of your team for the most part. And because of this, she'll usually be isolated. So if you need to kill that Claire, which in a lot of cases, a lot of runs fail, time fail, because of Claire like surviving till the very end, well, Haru's here to like save the day. You never know, you could use Haru to save that, right? Anyways, the point is Shred's 40%. You already know that's for tanks. Tanks have a lot of defense, right? So 430% times 2 as long as this condition's fulfilled. So if you think Kha'Zix, right, from League of Legends, when the enemy's isolated, that type of thing, a lot more damage with the Kha'Zix Q. I was thinking of, oh yeah, so what does that mean? Say you're trying to assassinate Adrian, the most annoying unit in the game. Definitely the most annoying unit in the game. 40% of this will be shredded, so times 0.6, let me just put a good old calculator. That's 3633 times 0.6, 18,379. Is that's still a lot of defense, because like let's say you go IMF defense, that's still 2.5 times IMS defense, right? With then 860% damage. It's a lot of damage. That's all I can say. Right. So her skills, amazing. She can fit in almost every single team composition. Naturally, there are exceptions. You can't just whip out Talia in Beast stage. And there are some cases where, probably some rare cases where you can't use her. Because, well, like for Beast teams, Mika, Siha, Clara, right? That will be too much heal, you're gonna lack DPS. Especially since Mika and Siha are pretty much locked together. And, well, I don't know why you'd be using a Beast team anyway. Although I do see some rare occasions where you might have to. The Beast Gate. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try that. So, that just goes to show how much of a nuke Talia is. Right? So, she's not just a support. She's a nuke. Alright, I'm gonna leave it here for now. And yes, all of your waifus are decent characters. We're gonna talk about them, help you with your confirmation bias, help you feel better about pulling for whoever you want, man. Get whatever unit you want. This game makes every unit decent. End of the day, you're gonna find the use for every single unit. Don't sleep on any of them. I almost made the mistake of sacrificing my Mephi dupes just cause I ran out of human fodder, right? Don't do that, please. Just wait. This game's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't burn out. Love the game. Enjoy, play, and yeah. I'll see you in the next one.